Hey guys, welcome back to BeerGeekNation.com. I'm your host Chris, and today I wanted to do a bit of an editorial, something I've been meaning to talk about for a while, and it's kind of a big subject that's recently come about again. I want to talk about craft beer versus quote-unquote crafty beer. Now, you all know what craft beer is. That's a no-brainer. But what is crafty beer? Crafty beer is basically a wolf in sheep's clothing type of situation. It's the big three, you know, the BMC, the macro brewers, basically releasing beer not under their label, and kind of marketing it as craft beer. And the big two, I think the ones you guys are definitely going to know, are Blue Moon and Shock Top. InBev and Miller Coors. I think Miller Coors Blue Moon. I know InBev is definitely Shock Top. And basically what they're doing is they're kind of releasing, you know, all these different Shock Top variations and all these different Blue Moon variations. I know some Blue Moons come in like 750 bottles now, and they're trying all these different stuff. At the end of the day, it's still basically macro brew beer. And you know what? They're not bad. They're much better than their light products, Coors Light, Bud Light, all that. And I would definitely take those any day over the two. But they do release them under the guise of, you know, it's kind of like, they don't say they didn't have anything to do with it, but they don't advertise that they had something to do with it. And what are they trying to do here? Well, they're basically trying to undercut the craft market. You know, they can flood all their markets with these beers, and, you know, people who are maybe getting into craft beer or want to try different beers, they see that they can get this stuff real cheap, basically anywhere, so they go for it. Now, that has kind of a double-edged sword, good and bad for InBev, you know, Anheuser-Busch, all these guys, BMC. What is happening, and this was basically published in an article on Mother Jones recently about how the gigantic corporate, you know, brewers are basically taking out their own bottom line. And what's happening is they're releasing these quote-unquote crafty beers into the market. And what ultimately is happening is the people who drink the light beers, Bud Light, Coors Light, all those Miller Lite, they're switching over to these craft beers crafty beers at Bud Light, Shock Top, Blue Moon. They're switching over to these beers. They're realizing that beer can have different flavors, and then they're going into craft beer. Now, ultimately, what InBev and the other guys wanted to happen was that the craft beer drinkers who are already established would come over to that side, would come over to their side, would put down their, you know, their Three Floyds and their Victories and whatever, and come to Shock Top, drink Blue Moon like it's, you know, not an issue. That's not happening at all. So you've already got this well-established craft beer base. Now you've got these people who are coming into craft beer through this crafty beer and then joining the party. Meanwhile, the light beer industry is basically just eroding. It's bottoming out. It's losing market share. Now, with that said, you know, Blue Moon, Shock Top, those are doing very well and have extremely high amount of growth for a BMC, for the big three. So what I question and what I bring up to you guys is, do you think there's a place in the market for crafty beer? Is it a good gateway, for lack of a whatever, drug into craft beer? Personally, I think it is. I really don't care what people drink. You know, just as long as you're drinking something that you enjoy, whether it be Bud Light, you know, Miller Coors or Victory Dirt Wolf, I don't care. It's not up to me. You know, you're not affecting what I drink. But I am really, really happy to hear that people are using this beer as kind of a, hey, I really like that, let me try something else. So ultimately, you know, in my personal opinion, I think, you know, the argument craft versus crafty beer, I can see why a craft brewer would get really annoyed by that, but at the same time, craft breweries are through the roof. In the last 4 or 5 years, the number of craft breweries has doubled, and that number doesn't seem to be tapering off at all. And that brings up a second question, you know, is are we verging on the craft beer bubble? It's so hard to say, and people have been saying that for years. The market will definitely dictate that. I think craft beer as an industry is going to change a little bit. I think you're going to start to see more nano breweries, much more smaller breweries. I think the days of your Stones and your Deschutes and your New Belgium and Victories, I don't know that we're ever going to see a bunch of breweries like that anymore. Is that big? I just don't know. Neither here nor there. Maybe that's a whole other video. But Write in the comments section below or on Facebook or wherever, what do you guys think of craft versus crafty beer? Is it a gateway? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Ultimately, what do you guys think will happen? It's going to be interesting in the next maybe 5-10 years to see what does happen. I'm thinking we're going to see a lot more big acquisitions from BMC as far as buying up craft breweries like they did with Goose Island. I'm surprised we haven't seen more lately, to be honest, since that Goose Island thing did happen. So with that said, folks, remember life's too short. Drink amazing beers. Cheers.